Hello friends, hope your day is going well. I've got some much neglected hats that I need to get back in shape, and I wanted to bring you along and show you that process. Today we're talking about care for fur felt hats. A good fur felt hat can probably last you a lifetime if you take good care of it and you've bought a good quality hat. And we're going to talk about what needs to be done, at least on a yearly basis, even if it sits on a shelf and the only time you wear this hat is to, wakes, weddings, and funerals and Sunday church. They still collect dust. They still need to be refreshed at least yearly. And if you use it more than that, you probably need to do it more often once you see it's, maybe getting a little dust on it, or the flange, the brim, the flange to the brim needs to be refreshed a little bit. We're going to talk about some of that stuff today. Let's look at some of the different types of fur felt. So this one here we won't be doing too much with, but this is a Western style felt. This is a 4 or 6X fur felt. The X versions, I'll go into that in depth in a different video, but it doesn't necessarily mean thickness. It means a quality. It differs from manufacturer to manufacturer, and it usually denotes how much beaver fur is in this. This is a particular hat. Some say that it's a buffalo series from Stetson, and some say that it has buffalo in it. So not really too much. It's a very, very hard finish hat. It's meant to be out in the weather, and you won't probably do some of the processes that we do with some of these other hats. So next up is a Western crossover. So this is a more of a fedora style material, so it's got more rabbit in it. It is supposed to have a little bit of more of a soft finish to it, but this, more than a fedora, has a somewhat stiff structure to it, or stiff finish to it. This is one of the hats that we're going to be working on today. Next up is a fedora. This is a what they would consider, this would be more of a Western fedora. This is called a Stratoliner, but it's in silver belly, and I'll explain that. But this has more of a soft finish. You can, it's squishable. It's not crushable hat. You don't want to do that. You will be very sorry if you crush this hat. However, this has a very soft rabbit finish. This is a Royal Deluxe, and so it's got a very good high quality fedora felt to it. It does have a flange. That's what I forgot to explain on the other one. These are flanged hats, so they can be snapped, snap brim finish, and it has a very much of a curve there. This is a silver belly color, and that is done with a specific powder. Do not put baby powder on this, and I'll explain a little bit later how you care for this particular color hat. We don't want to confuse the material of this next hat. This is not part of this video. However, I want to explain you don't want to be doing the same thing to this type of hat. This is what they call light felt. It is a crushable hat. This is made of wool, where these are made of fur. This is done for durability. You can wear this in the rain and the snow. It is also, this one is crushable. So if you pop the top up and dome it in like that, and this is brand new, just yesterday, so it's a little on the stiff side, but you can actually roll this up. You don't want to roll it up too tight, but if you roll it up just like I did, you pop that crown up, you push the crown in, and then you take the brim and just make like a U out of it, and you can roll it up, and you can stick this in your saddlebag. You can stick this in a suitcase, or if you've got a pocket in your jacket or something like that, or a briefcase or suitcase, or whatever you bring with you. It's very very durable, and it pops back in. So you don't have to do the same kind of care with this, and the only thing I would do is brush this out once in a while. All right, you're going to need some things to get this accomplished. None of these are very expensive, and you can pick them up pretty readily on whatever your favorite online shopping is, or maybe a local hat shop. A couple of things that you're gonna need first are a couple of brushes. You're gonna need one for dark hats, one for light hats. You don't want to cross these over because you'll get light fibers on your dark hat and dark fibers on your light hat. We're gonna need a sponge. These things are sold at your local hat shop, tack shop. Like I said, you can get them online. This also helps with getting a little bit more of the debris, dust, and lint off of your hat. This one's I'm kind of on the fence on. This is regular packing tape. Some of the hat professionals that have worked in, if you watch online, a lot of the folks there that have worked in hat shops for a long time use this stuff. I'm kind of on the fence on it because it's got adhesive to it, and that's what takes the debris off of your hat. However, I think it leaves a residue on there. I only use this if I'm really having trouble getting some lint off or something like that. I'll use that. I don't like to do the entire hat with it, just for the fact that I think it leaves that adhesive residue and collects more dust. You'll also need a hat jack. You don't necessarily need this, but it makes it a lot easier when you spray stiffener on it. You want to kind of protect the band, and I'll explain that later. It also gives you a handle to handle the hat with as you're working on it. So you're also going to want to stiffen the hat, and there's two ways you can go about this. This is called Call Hat Stiffener, and a lot of professional shops use this. It's not very expensive. It's probably $9 a bottle, and you can probably do 4 or 5 treatments with this, depending on how much stiffening you need to do. If it's really floppy, you may use quite a bit of this. But this is, I forget what this is made out of. It says it will not yellow. I forget what it is made out of, but it's kind of gross from what I recall. However, it does work very well, and it's recommended for expensive hats, or good quality hats, I should say, instead of expensive. Also, you can use in a lot of hat shops, use maximum hold hairspray. It's a lot cheaper. You can get this for like $1.99 at the store, or if you steal it from your wife, it's free. But this really works well, and I've never really had an issue with it. So the second most important tool, next to just having brushes, at a minimum you should brush your hats out, is a steamer. This is a steamer. I'm not going to put a link in there. I bought it years ago. It was like $15 on one of the online sites, and you don't need anything too spectacular. It just needs to have steam coming out. You could even do it with a steam kettle if you're careful enough not to catch you or your hat on fire on the stove. You could do it with a kettle. However, this gives a little bit more pressure behind the steam, and it works pretty good. It's pretty compact. You can put it on a shelf somewhere, and it does have multiple other uses. You can take wrinkles out of your shirt or a jacket or something like that. But you need steam to not only to shape the hat or correct imperfections. I'm not talking about massive changes to crowns or anything like that. I'm just saying to sharpen up some edges, to refresh your flange on your brim. This works really well, and it really reconditions the felt, makes all those fibers stand back up as you brush it, and gets it just in better condition. It adds a little bit of humidity to it, and really, like I said, it's important to do this, and especially if you're reshaping, this is a great tool. To start cleaning this, we need to remove some things. First is the hat band, and along with the feathers, which have seen better days. There's a hat band. Now this hat comes with a cross grain ribbon on it. I usually leave those on because I have a hat band that goes over top. we want to push the crown up. It's not going to hurt it. I want to push this crown up as much as we can to get it back to just about where the open crown is. Now you wouldn't want to do that on a Western hat that has a stiff finish to it, because that's probably not going to end well for the average person. So I assume if you take it to a hat shop, they may do that, but the stiffer hats I just tend to just clean up. This one's been cleaned originally, or a while back, and has been stiffened and everything, so this one's in good shape. So now that we've got our hat the way we want it, ready to brush out, you got your hat brush. Now you want to go in a counterclockwise fashion. So if the hat's facing you, it's the face of a clock, you want to go the reverse of the way the clock swings. There's no need to be gentle with this, and you actually want to really give it a good whack, because this is going to help you get the dust out from the fibers. And like I said, you're going to want to work your way all the way around, trying to keep that thing as popped out as possible and minding that direction. And the more you whack it, you're going to see I don't know if you probably can't see it on the camera, but you're going to see that dust coming out of there. There's dust, and there's also lint that you're going to want to try to pull, so it's a whack and a pull, whack and a pull. Especially right up here. Sometimes you forget you shouldn't handle your hat. You shouldn't handle your hat by the crown, because number one, you pinch it too hard here, and it's going to start splitting the felt. And the other thing is, you get your hand all over it. You want to really handle it by the brim or the flange. So anyway, we'll move on here. So this hat with a cattleman's crease in it has these twin peaks up here, and they really get a lot of dust in them. So you really gotta whack that pretty hard to get that out of there. So as you keep working your way around the crown, if you got some tough spots, like I'm showing you right there, you can try the sponge to see if that will get it out. Again, in that counterclockwise direction. And sometimes if you go back and forth between the sponge and the brush, you can kind of get it finished up. Oops. And your satin lining will sometimes come out. Don't worry about it, pops right back in. I'll show you how to do that later. But it may take a while. You want to take a day when you got not much else to do, but just kind of keep working at it, especially if you got a few hats to do it. Now, the other trick that we talked about in the intro is using regular packing tape. So you want to spool off a piece about 1 foot long or so, and then just simply wrap it around your fingers. And you want to kind of pull it, stamp it on there and pull it, and it does kind of get some of that ingrained dust and lint out a little bit better than some of the other methods. I only like to do this in spots where it's an issue, and you want to maybe line up a few pieces of this tape. So I'm of the opinion that I don't really like to do this unless I absolutely positively have to, because I I'm really concerned about making this felt sticky now. You put hairspray on this or stiffener, and those are kind of sticky, but only when they're wet. Once they completely dry, they're not attracting dust like the other thing would. But it looks like I need to work on this a little bit more with a brush. Now we're going to go around the brim. So counterclockwise again. Brim wasn't in too bad a shape, but this hat definitely looks a lot better than it was. You want to spin it around and do the bottom portion of it. And there's kind of a debate on this. Some folks say you go clockwise on this because you're on the opposite side. I still go counterclockwise, and it seems to work for me. So all the way around. What I should have mentioned before was you really want to get this thing completely dust-free, or as dust-free as you can get it, because you don't want to put steam on this or stiffener, because it'll seal in all that dust on you and it'll be there forever. So unless you like that patina, you're going to want to really get this clean as possible. I usually don't do this sitting down. I usually don't do this at a little table like this. However, it works better for the camera. So I'm going to take my hat jack here, or it says hat stretcher, but don't stretch your hat with this, and don't stretch your hat. Have someone that knows what they're doing do that if you've got to do that for various reasons. But we want to put this in here. Let's give us a little purchase on it. Okay. All right, you don't want to deform the hat because you're going to be steaming it. So you're going to want to strike a balance there where you've got some grip to it, but also it's not messing with this flange. So I keep talking about brim, flange. Well, this is the brim. The flange of the brim is this. On a Fedora, you have what's called a snap brim. So it snaps down, snaps up, snaps down. Probably do it better with, here, let me grab this one. I think I showed you a little bit of this before. So it should have, this is all your flange. Everything is just curl up here. So it's like a little swoop, and it provides that stiffness of the brim. A lot of folks wear their hat this way. The open road, you don't wear it flipped down. You always wear it like this. It's got less of a flange to it than this does. And it actually drops a little bit in the front, so it kind of looks like the classic Western hat. However, this flips down. It's a Fedora, so some folks wear these flipped down. Some folks wear them flipped up. So that's what they call a snap brim. You probably don't know if you can hear that or not. It's a very nuanced little sound there. And I meant to tell you about the silver belly color and the powder they use in it. And you'll get little spots maybe of where it got maybe set down, or it gets set down a lot on it, because when you set down a hat, you don't want to set it down on the brim. You want to set it down on the crown. This allows the crown to go back into its own shape. It doesn't flatten the crown. And if you put it this way, it'll go flat and you won't have that flange anymore. However, back to my original point, and sometimes you'll get little blank spots in this stuff. Don't put more powder on it. What you want to do is you want to work at it and just keep working at it in the counterclockwise fashion, just like you're dusting it, but you want to hit it just like that, and you actually can see a little bit of cloud of powder going up. And whatever powder they use in here is just impregnated right in the felt. And if you just work with it, it will come back. It's just amazing. That color comes right back. And nice color. So anyway, back to our open road. So now that we've done this kind of dry, we're going to turn on our steam here. We're going to work with this a little bit more. So it takes a couple minutes for it to come up to temperature. One thing you don't want to do that I just did is put too much water in, otherwise it'll spit. You don't want to get that on your hat. All right, so we're ready to go. We got steam going, and got our hat jack, got our handle here. You don't necessarily need that, but it does make it handy. You want to go at the steam in this direction. You don't want to get steam inside the hat because the sweatband is made of leather and it'll do bad things to that. Plus, I don't have it in there right now because I actually cleaned it. The satin lining doesn't really like that steam either, so we're going to go at it just like this. I'm going to give it good dousing of steam. Now this is going to make all the fibers stand up. It's really good for the felt. Now we're just cleaning this hat. So we don't want to hit it with too much steam because we don't want to change the shape of the hat. And again, you want to keep it in that counterclockwise motion. All right, so one thing I really, I normally don't worry about it too much, but we'll see if we can't get this. There's a little bit of a sweat stain right there. Not a big deal to me, but we'll see if we can't get that out. We want to work that brush in that one direction. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Now once you have the hat fully cleaned to your level of cleanliness, you're going to want to hit it with some stiffener. Now this hat's in pretty good shape. I'm not going to worry too much about it. However, I've got another hat that we're going to work on, but I'm going to hit this with some stiffener, hairspray. What you want to do is hit your crown. You don't want to use it on the top of the brim. You want to keep it away from there as much as you can because you don't want that to hit your hat band. I don't know why, but a lot of the pros say not to do that. You want to hit the underside of the brim. Maybe that's just where it stiffens better. The other thing you don't want to do, and that's why I have this hat jack in here, is you don't want it to get on your sweatband because it affects the leather and it'll make it sticky, so it'll stick to your head when you sweat. So you just kind of want to not get crazy with it. You don't want to soak it. You're just freshening it up. There's still stiffener in there from the factory, so you're really just freshening up that stiffness. And like I said, right around that brim. So there you go. Now you got to go find a place to put this so that it doesn't get laid down on the stiffener and it doesn't pick up any dust or anything like that. So you want to find a good, nice, dry place for it, and it'll probably dry out in an hour or so. While we're waiting for the stiffener to set up, sometimes you can bring feathers back. Now I've been working with this one a little bit. This is what it looked like originally. Maybe a little bit too far gone, but let's see if we can bring this back. You can definitely tell there's a difference in that one. Just kind of drag those fibers right back out. There you go. That looks a lot better. I'll figure out if I want to keep these in there or not. Maybe I'll see what else I have for feathers before we reassemble the hat. Another thing you can do is if you've got a hat band that's a little wonky, this one is a horsehair hat band. You take the tassels and you can just refresh the tassels in the steam. If you've got a gross grain one that's got a little fold in it or something like that, you can always hit it with a little bit of steam and just kind of keep working with it, and you can get it to flatten out. If you've got, these are kind of small feathers, one trick you can do is when you put it through whatever you do in the hat, if you overlap one over the other, you get a larger feather. And, with it being inside the flange of the brim, you never notice it, and it looks like a larger feather. Now that our hat's set up, this is a different hat. Now we can work on shaping it. Now I've got a couple of spaces you probably won't be able to see on camera. There's a little bit of a dent back here and a dent over here. Worked on getting this really stiff, unlike the green hat. It came in kind of wonky from Stetson that way. And I'm going to try to work with these. I don't really care about these because they stay underneath the actual hat band that I'm using. We're going to work on the flange. It's a little bit off. It droops a little bit in the front. So we're going to start working on this right now. What you want to do, grab a brush. So you kind of want to just get everything back the way you want it. Now you want to work with the areas that you want to shape. Now if you're really getting into this, you would really hit the whole thing with steam, but you want to kind of push out. So I've got my hands inside of the hat, and I'm pushing outwards because there was a dent here and then there was a dent in the back. You just kind of want to get it in the steam and hold it till it cools. Same thing right back there. Now with the brim, I've got a little bit of a droop, and there's a little bit of a debate on whether you should do this or not, but what I like to do, if there's that little bit of droop, so that flange is kind of pushed down a little bit and come kind of flat. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of steam, go all the way around the perimeter, and I'm just going to put some gentle downward pressure. That should bring it up. If you could see that, there's just a slight little bit of droop right there. Now we're going to work on freshening up the flange. So remember we talked about the flange being this curve all the way around that gives it the stiffness and the snap when you're wearing a fedora. Like I said, this is normally worn up because it kind of has that Western bend to it. All right, now that our steam is ready again, what you would like to do is to put a little bit of steam on the area that you're going to work on in the brim. You want to hold your hat level with the table, have the table level. And what you want to do is just put your fingers on the table just like this. And you want to draw the hat towards your fingers. See that little bit of motion there? You want to be as level as possible. Usually I don't do this on this table. I usually have a good solid table to do that, and you can do that on your kitchen table or whatever, but you want to have a nice level table, and hit it, and then you just want to kind of, that's exaggerated, but just a slight, and just hold it there, just like that. And you want to work all the way around until you're satisfied with the way the flange is. Just in with the hat like that and just up against your fingers. Get some steam on it, push it in and hold. Let's see if we can get a close-up. Hopefully that's a little bit better for you guys to see. So you want to hit it with some steam. You want to put your fingers just about brim's width on the table. And you just want to go in with it just ever so slightly and hold it. In with it and just ever so slightly and hold it. A little more steam, different area, same thing. You just want to keep going all the way around the hat. So one of the things you can do is to straighten out the gross grain. I've been working with it so far. I think you guys saw it a little bit earlier. We're going to work on that just a little bit, see if we can get it straightened out a little bit more. But you just hit it with a steam and then just hold it where you want to, and it'll eventually straighten out. Then once you're satisfied with the shape of the hat, whatever you got going on with the hat band, you just kind of want to go around, hit it with some steam, and then just brush it out. That hat's nicely rejuvenated. Looks a lot better than it did before, the dusty mess that it was. Well, this is the liner from one of the hats. This is multiple years old. And I washed it out. Still not in great shape, but no one really sees it but me. But one of the things you can do also with the steam, you've got a liners, take it out, wash it with some gentle soap, let it dry real well. You don't want to put anything wet back in the hat, but you can get it pretty nice. Be very careful because this steam will burn you. Definitely want to keep your hands out of the direct line of steam. But if you work with it a little bit, I wouldn't iron it, but just kind of stretch it back into shape and remove the wrinkles. Some folks take the satin or silk or satin, whatever liners out. I don't know, I think it makes it look a nicer looking hat when you have these in there. Plus the way I part my hair, it's nicer than having the other material right up against it in it, and it does protect the hat. Okay, you can see that's a lot better than it was before. I'm going to continue to work with this and then pop it back in the hat. Now that the hat has had a chance to set up and dry, and that's one of the things between each stage, you want to make sure that the hat's completely dry. So once you brush it out and steam it, let it dry, hit it with the stiffener, and come back and do your shaping and then your rebrushing. But you'd be between each stage, you want to make sure it's dry, and then before you put your hat band back on and your feather in, you really want to make sure it's 100% dry. So let it dry for at least a couple of hours. So let's work on getting the feather in there. I was able to reshape this feather that belongs on this hat. This particular hat has that gross grain thing, and right here, this is the Stetson pin, if you can see that right there. There's a loop right underneath it that this feather goes in. Push it through and just slide it through just like that until you're satisfied with the position of it. I'm going to do that one more time. Let's see. ribbon's fighting me a little bit there, but that's kind of where we wanted it to be at. Tuck that behind. There we go. That's what the feather looks like. And now we'll just drop the hat band over top. I want that feather to stick up just a little bit. See that? Just like that. And then with these horsehair ones, you just pull them tight. This has little keepers on it. Hard to see there, but that's what that looks like. Takes some adjustment, probably a couple days of wearing it, getting it to just where you want it. I don't sew or glue my hat bands on because I like to clean them. And also, I don't want to ruin the hat. I don't want to put punctures in the felt. And I don't want to put glue on there because hot glue really just messes the whole thing up. There's that one. All right, so I'm going to try to show you that little trick. I'm going to flop down the flange on that. And my little feather trick here. Same thing on this hat. So we want to bring the smaller feather in from behind, just so far. And then this one here, hoping that you guys can still see that, we'll bring it down a little bit. And bring that right over top. And I kind of want a little bit of a, I guess you'd call it a patina to these feathers. I don't want them to look brand new or perfect. Shove that back just a touch. That's what those feathers look like. Like I said, I want them to look perfect, but kind of gives it a longer feather look to it. And again, with this hat band, I'll just expand it here. So see, these things slide back. There's a little keeper in the middle, and these things just slide right back and forth. Make sure I haven't messed up my flange too much here. Feathers out over top, pull it tight, and there you go. That's what that one looks like. And just kind of make sure everything's just up to your spec, what you want to see out of that. I like, I don't mind a little patina and a little mist crease on the crown. I kind of like that look. What I don't like is a wonky brim. I like to make sure that the flange, if it has a flange, is correct, or a bend, if the bend is correct. That all needs to look proper on that portion of the hat for me. Some folks like that wonky brim look, but I prefer a nice straight look to it. One last thing to note, there's some directional things that you want to observe on the hat. The ribbon or the tassels end up, or the bow ends up on the left side of the hat. So as you're standing there, it's on your left side as you're wearing the hat. Also, inside the hat, it's a fancy dancy little bow back there. That's not for looks. That designates the rear of the hat. So the bow is back here. A couple of things, it does let you visually know where the back of the hat is, but also if you're putting on your hat in a dark theater, dark closet, something like that, where you can't see low light conditions, you can always just feel that bow. I know where it is, and you don't look like a doofus when you walk out of where you're at. Also, throughout the year, don't be afraid. You don't need to do all this routine all the time. One thing that'll keep them looking really good is just to hit them with the brush throughout the year, just to keep them dusted off, keep those fibers perked up, if you will, and just keep them in good shape. You just hit it with a brush a few times a year and it'll continue to look good for you. Well, I'm going to put my hats away here. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you watching. Please comment, subscribe, like, and share. Adios.